Welcome back, everybody, to another week of Sunday School here at the Lighthouse Church of the Nazarene in Moravia, Iowa, where we're going through the book of Isaiah. And today we start Isaiah chapter 36. Now, Isaiah chapter 36 starts what is known as the historical interlude in the book of Isaiah. So if we divide up the book of Isaiah, we know it has 66 chapters, the same amount as books in the Bible. That's what makes it easy to remember. Now, out of those 66 chapters in Isaiah, chapters 1 through 35, there are prophecies and messages of judgment against Judah, against foreign nations. And then starting right here in chapter 36, we get 4 chapters that are historical counts, just the retelling of the events. And we read about these events also in 2 other places, in 2 Kings and 2 Chronicles. And then after chapter 39, chapter 40 starts another section of the book of Isaiah, and chapters 40 through 66 are messages of hope and restoration. So we're in the 4 chapters, in one of the 4 chapters here of the historical interlude, stuck right in the middle of the book of Isaiah. So let's just see what it has for us. Let's get out our Bibles and let's follow along. We're in Isaiah chapter 36, verse 1, where it says, "Now it came to pass in the 14th year of King Hezekiah that Sennacherib, king of Assyria, came up against all the fortified cities of Judah and took them." So, who do we have here? We have King Hezekiah. He's in Jerusalem right now, and he's surrounded by the Assyrians. Now, who were the Assyrians? The Assyrians were the world empire at this time. Their capital was Nineveh, modern-day Mosul, Iraq. And the Assyrians, they ruled by fear. This is what they were known for. They ruled by fear, and we know this because of their inscriptions that are on their walls. It's known as reliefs. That they would actually carve pictures of what they did to other people, gouged out their eyes, put hooks in their noses and lips and led them around like that. They would impale people on poles. They would decapitate people and put their heads on poles or pile up heads outside so that everybody knew that they were to be feared and they were to not be messed with. So also the Assyrians, when they took over a nation, they practiced what was known as ethnic cleansing. They took the local people away, left only the poor of the land to farm it, and then repopulated the area with foreigners. That's how we came up with the Samaritans. They were the half Jews. So that's the Assyrians. They have Jerusalem and King Hezekiah surrounded. Now, King Hezekiah, what do we know about King Hezekiah? We know that King Hezekiah was a good king. His father Ahaz was horrible, but King Hezekiah was a good king. And I want to show you this. If we go to 2 Chronicles 31:21, I'm going to show you what it says about King Hezekiah. So 2 Chronicles 31:21 says, "And in every work that he began in the service of the house of God, in the law and in the commandment to seek his God, he did it with all his heart, so he prospered." So 2 Chronicles tells us about King Hezekiah. He sought God with all his heart, and because of that, he prospered. Now, I'm going to turn to 2 Kings 18:5 here. I want to read you this also. We're talking about King Hezekiah. 2 Kings 18:5 says, "He trusted in the Lord God of Israel, so that after him was none like him among all the kings of Judah, nor who were before him. For he held fast to the Lord. He did not depart from following him, but kept his commandments, which the Lord had commanded Moses." Now, in 2 Kings, it talks about King Hezekiah, that there was no king before him or after him like him. That's including David and Solomon, the great kings. So King Hezekiah was a great king. So if King Hezekiah is a great king doing everything he can to serve God right, that means he shouldn't have any problems in his life, correct? No, it doesn't work that way. King Hezekiah was great. Guess what? He's still going to have crisis situations that he's going to have to work through. You and I, we're the same way. Life is going to throw us curveballs. We're going to have crisis situations in our life. Psalm 34:19 says, "Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers them out of them all." Jesus said, as John 16:33 says, "In this world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world." Trials in our life, they're just opportunities to break our dependence upon ourselves and to put our trust in God. And we are going to have problems in our life. Proverbs 24:10 says, if you faint in the day of adversity, your faith is small. So Solomon said in the book of Proverbs, you're going to have problems. If you get worried and faint, you lack your faith. So we need to remember this. God is able to take care of any situation or provide any answers to our problems. So King Hezekiah has a problem right now. His city's surrounded by Assyrians. So let's see what happens here. So now we're in verse 2. Then the king of Assyria sent the Rabshakeh with a great army from Lachish to King Hezekiah at Jerusalem. Now, these towns, Lachish was a town 30 miles southwest of Jerusalem that the Assyrians had already defeated. And they've actually discovered a pit there with 1,500 skeletons in it. So we know that this stuff happened. So, verse 2, then the king of Assyria sent the Rabshakeh with a great army from Lachish to King Hezekiah at Jerusalem, and he stood by the aqueduct from the upper pool on the highway to Fuller's Field. Now, we've read about this aqueduct before in Isaiah chapter 7. It's where Isaiah gave Ahaz the prophecy of the virgin birth. But it's interesting. They're standing by this aqueduct right here. King Hezekiah, he was a genius, and this was his strategy. He went out with his engineers, and you can read about this in 2 Chronicles chapter 32, verse 4. But he says, when the Assyrians come in here, we don't want them to have any water supply. So what they did, they shut up all the springs, and then Hezekiah actually redirected that water underground into the city of Jerusalem so they would have fresh water during these sieges when they were surrounded and couldn't go in or out of the city. And it's known as Hezekiah's Tunnel. And Hezekiah's Tunnel, it's 1,700 feet long. It was carved out through solid rock, and they started at each end and met in the middle. And it was just really a genius strategy to get through this. So then verse 3, let's keep going here. And Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah, who was over the household, Shebna the scribe, and Joah the son of Asaph the recorder, they came out to meet him. Now, from other accounts, we know that there's at least 3 Assyrians here. The Rabshakeh, which means field commander. We have Tartan, which means supreme commander. And we also have the Rabsaris, their chief officer. We can read about that in 2 Kings 18. So, King Hezekiah, he has his 3 officials. The Assyrians, they have their 3 officials. Now, let's see what happens here. Verse 4, then the Rabshakeh said to them, say now to Hezekiah, thus says the great king, the king of Assyria, what confidence is this in which you trust? I say you speak of having plans and power for war, but they are mere words. Now in whom do you trust that you rebel against me? Look, you are trusting in the staff of this broken reed, Egypt, on which if a man leans, it will go into his hand and pierce it. So is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to all who trust in him. So right off the bat, the Rabshakeh, he starts giving this speech in front of all the people. We know that the people are actually sitting up on the walls of the city. They can hear everything that this field commander, the Rabshakeh, is saying. And this is the start of the beginning of the psychological warfare. Right here. What does he do? He starts bringing up past bad experiences for him. He says, hey, you tried making an alliance with Egypt. How did that work out for you? It didn't work out here. So we need to remember this. He's bringing up past failures. The Rabshakeh and the Assyrians here, we almost see the strategies of Satan because they cross right over here. Remember, we do have an enemy of our soul. The Bible tells us that. 1 Peter, your enemy, the devil, he walks about like a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour. So what's his first strategy right here? He's bringing up past failures. You tried putting your trust in Egypt. How did that work out for you? Remember, Jesus said, anyone putting his hand to the plow and looking back is not fit for the kingdom of heaven. What happened to Lot's wife when she looked back? She turned into a pillar of salt. Remember, we all have past failures. I've done bad things. I've made mistakes. You've done bad things. You've made mistakes. All we can do is keep going forward here. So first off, the Assyrian field commander, he says, hey, you tried trusting in Egypt. How'd that work out for you? Let's keep going here. Verse 7, but if you say to me, we trust in the Lord our God, is it not he whose high places and whose altars Hezekiah has taken away and said to Judah and Jerusalem, you shall worship before this altar? Here's another strategy. He's causing him he's casting doubt in the goodness of God. saying, hey, is your God going to protect you? It hasn't happened yet. Do you think God is for you after tearing down all those altars? That's what Hezekiah did. He tore down the false altars to the false gods, the false idols. Remember, right back in the Garden of Eden. What did Satan do? Casted doubt on what God said. Told Eve, oh, you will not die. God just knows that you'll be like him if you eat from this tree. No, let's keep going here. Verse 8. Still the Rabshakeh talking. Now, therefore, I urge you, give a pledge to my master, the king of Assyria, and I will give you 2,000 horses, if you are able on your part to put riders on them. What he's saying here, hey, it's hopeless for you. Even if we gave you all these horses, it wouldn't do you any good. You wouldn't be able to put riders on them. Verse 9, how then will you repel one captain of the least of my master's servants and put your trust in Egypt for chariots and horsemen? Have I now come up without the Lord against this land to destroy it? The Lord said to me, go up against this land and destroy it. Now, this is just straight up blasphemy right here, what the Assyrian field commander's doing. What has he just said here? He said, hey, God said to me, go up and destroy this land. He is now saying God is on my side. Jesus said, it's Matthew 12:36. He said that every idle word man may speak, he will give account of it in day of judgment. That's a scary verse right there. But have you ever been accused of saying something that you didn't say? That's what the Rabshakeh is doing for God right here, accusing God of saying something that he didn't say. I can promise you God would not be happy about this. So let's keep going here. Verse 11. Then Eliakim, Shebna, and Joah said to the Rabshakeh, remember, these are the three people that Hezekiah sent out, the three representatives. Please speak to your servants in Aramaic, for we understand it, and do not speak to us in Hebrew in the hearing of all the people who are on the wall. So this Assyrian representative, he's speaking in Hebrew so everybody can hear it. He's trying to strike fear in everybody. What do they say? Hey, speak to us in Aramaic, which was, they didn't want the common citizens to hear. Now, is that going to do any good? No, absolutely not. Let's keep going here. Verse 12. But the Rabshakeh said, has my master sent me to your master and to speak these words, and not to the men who sit on the wall, who will eat and drink their own waste with you? Now he's trying to intimidate them. He's saying, hey, if you don't capitulate to me, guess what's going to happen? You're going to be eating your own waste and drinking your own urine, is what he's saying right there. He's trying to put this visual in their mind of what will happen if they try to resist him. So he's saying, guess what? We're going to starve you out. When people run out of food, it gets bad. There's been POWs that had to eat dirt and tree bark just to try to survive, just to try to starve off their hunger right there. So the Rabshakeh, he's trying to put a visualization in their head. Everybody's sitting on the wall. He's speaking to them in the language they will hear. And he says, hey, if you try to resist, guess what's going to happen? You're going to starve. Let's keep going here. Verse 13, then the Rabshakeh stood and called out with a loud voice in Hebrew. Notice he didn't listen to him. And said, hear the words of the great king, the king of Assyria. Thus says the king, do not let Hezekiah deceive you, for he will not be able to deliver you, nor let Hezekiah make you trust in the Lord, saying, the Lord will surely deliver us. This city will not be given into the hand of the king of Assyria. How hard would this have been for Hezekiah when the Assyrian is saying, don't trust in this guy, he won't be able to deliver you. And Hezekiah, he's the leader at the time. He's trying to get his people to follow him. Verse 16, do not listen to Hezekiah, for thus says the king of Assyria, make peace with me by a present and come out to me, and every one of you eat from his own vine, and every one from his own fig tree, and every one of you drink the waters of his own cistern, until I come and take you away to a land like your own land, a land of grain and new wine, a land of bread and vineyards. These are absolutely empty promises. The Rabshakeh, the representative of the Assyrians, said, hey, just come with me, and guess what? I'm going to make everything perfect for you. This is another strategy of Satan right here. Temptation through lust. And we saw, what did Satan tell Jesus? Hey, just bow down and worship me, and I'll give you all these kingdoms right here. And Jesus said, away with you, Satan. He's trying to act like, hey, you just come with me. Everything's going to be all right. Now, are these promises that he's making any good? No, and we know they're no good because Hezekiah already tried paying off the Assyrians. He stripped the temple of all its good and gave it to the Assyrians. And did it do him any good? No. So you can't believe these are just lies that he's telling them right now. Verse 18, Beware lest Hezekiah persuade you, saying, the Lord will deliver us. Has any of the gods of the nations delivered its land from the hand of the king of Assyria? Where are the gods of Hamath and Arpad? Where are the gods of Sepharvaim? Indeed, have they delivered Samaria from my hand? He's saying, everybody else has tried to resist us, and everybody else has failed. You're just going to be the next. Verse 20, who among all the gods of these lands have delivered their countries from my hand, that the Lord should deliver Jerusalem from my hand? So let's see. He's done talking now. Let's see how they respond. Verse 21, but they held their peace and answered him not a word, for the king's commandment was, do not answer him. Then Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah, who was over the household, Shebna the scribe, and Joah, the son of Asaph, the recorder, came to Hezekiah with their clothes torn and told him the words of Rabshakeh. So, how did they answer him? They didn't answer him. And that's the correct response. It was just to stay silent. Proverbs 26:4 says, do not answer a fool according to his folly. And there's lots of statements and sayings that go along with this. Have you ever heard the saying, don't wrestle with a pig? You both get dirty, but the pig enjoys it. I think that goes right along with Jesus saying, do not cast your pearls before swine. Also, another saying is, arguing with a fool proves that there are two. It's amazing how many people will get into arguments online with faceless strangers. Don't feed the trolls. That's one we can take out of this. So, we just started Isaiah in the historical interlude. The city's surrounded by the Assyrians. Hezekiah has a problem. Next week, we'll find out what happens. So, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I hope you learned something. I'll see you the same time, same place next week. Bye.